Hello and welcome from Camp for You, campsite near Wrocław in southwestern Poland. Now, I get a lot of people saying to me on the chat or maybe on the comments on the video, so what's the situation like in Poland? And the answer is, I don't know. The reason I don't know is because I've been isolated or self-isolation on a campsite now for 5 weeks, and even though one of the largest cities in this country is a 10-kilometre distance away from here, and there's a railway line if I didn't want to go in by bicycle, on foot, or by bus, I could get there in no time at all. I haven't gone in at all because during the length of the emergency I decided to follow the law to the letter, or the suggestions of the law to the letter. I stayed at home, or in my case I stayed in my motorhome. I did go out to get food, of course, as we all have to do, and I admit, like many people, maybe I didn't go by the quickest route possible. I'd walk through the forest or through over the river embankment and all the rest. But in the urban area, as such, where the shop was, or the village area, I went by the the most direct route possible. So I'll show you, though. What I can give you is an indication of what sort of things that been happening. So we get these things here. I don't know if this is going to come out very well or not. I should have maybe possibly is not in focus, but anyways, there's warnings from the government. And so here, for example, it says there from the 25th of March there's going to be new safety requirements, and you go to the website there. 25th of March. On the 1st of April was more, and on the 16th, there was 16th of April, and they sent it to me at 16:10, 16:14, 16:31 and 16:59, the same thing. And this was telling me, telling everybody in the country, that we had to keep our nose and mouth covered. So if we go out, that is. If in the house you don't have to do it, but anywhere outside you have to do it. Now, I've just got a message. So today's the 19th of April. I've got this message there at the bottom, and this says, as from the 20th of April, parks and forests are now open, and more people can be in shops at one time. Now, when I said that the forests are open, the forests were closed before, that wasn't referring to private forests. These were public ones. And anyway, so I was walking through the forest here, but it doesn't say anywhere it's a state-owned forest, so I just presumed, in fact I'm pretty certain it's a private one. Anyway, so we've got there, so we click on the link and we've got the new, it says the new normality, that's the word it's using. And they explain the stages in which the restrictions are going to be lifted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what it is as from 20th of April. Of course, this will be published on the 21st, 22nd anyway. So it'll be out. It'll be in days, but I'll be able to do it. So as far as shops are concerned, there's more people in there. If people under 18 were not allowed to go out the house by themselves. You can imagine a situation. When I was 17, I was in the army, so I would have had a situation that I couldn't go out the house without my parents, even though I was going off the army. Anyway, I'll read this out to you. So we've still got to be 2 meters from other people. We've still got to keep our mouth and nose covered, and the same sanitary rules have to be applied everywhere, and you've got to stay in quarantine and isolation if that applies to you. Now, as far as shops are concerned, so if a shop's got less than 100 square meters, many people can be inside as there are cash desks times 4, so you've got 2 cash desks, you can have 8 people in there. Of course, if you've got 100 square meters, it's unlikely that you're going to have 2 cash desks, so effectively you can only have 4. One thing that's happened though in the shops around here, it's clearly written 1 person at a time. So maybe they were just going over the top with that one a little bit, the locals. Now, if you've got a hypermarket or something, or a bigger shop that's over 100 square meters, then you have 1 person per 15 square meters of floor space. So in the case of a hypermarket where you might have 1,500 square meters, for example, that's quite big, sort of a big Tesco or something along those lines, then you can have 1.5. I did that because it was easy sum. You could have 100 people inside, for example, but I mean that's a big space. So if you have, for example, sort of an average supermarket, we have 600 square meters, something along those lines. So you could have 40 people inside. You've only got 5 cash desks, for example. And right, so let's have a look at it now. If you want to go to church, now for religion, it says it doesn't necessarily mean church, but I mean if you want to go into a religious place, you know, a mosque or something or whatever, and then it's 1 person per 15 square meters, and that of course will benefit rich religions, because those who are smaller ones, those sort of Bible study groups or whatever, probably have about 15 square meters for the entire whatever they're doing for the group of 20, so they can't meet. But if you go into some organized wealthy religion, then or disorganized wealthy religion, then you've got 15 square meters, but you can't start all gathering up together. Now, one thing in the Catholic religion, they sort of hand out these things which are called hosts. I think that's the word in English, hostia, maybe, I don't know. It's like these wafer things. They say this is the body of Christ or something like that. And I hope that has not been reintroduced, because I mean obviously this is the priest picking it up in his hands and handing it to people in their mouths. So that's just my opinion. Maybe they can do that in a more hygienic way, but there's nothing here it's actually written about that. So this also means, for example, that I no longer have to stay on the campsite. I think I can now travel in reasonable conscience. I'm not absolutely certain. I'm going to have to think about this one, because whereas I'm trying to obey the law to the absolute, the spirit as well, not only the letter but the spirit, but the two together. And you know, I think that, you know, that if I don't really have to travel, then you know, it's one thing saying, you know, I want to go somewhere else, but if I don't absolutely have to travel, maybe I should just stay here where I am. Now we have here, we can see actually they've also introduced a variety of means to gradually release people from this. We've got a second stage, but they're not saying when the second stage is going to happen, of course. I mean, they can't say it, but this is the plan. So the second stage will see the opening of DIY shops at the weekend. Hotels will be able to open, and the libraries, museums, and art galleries will open on the third stage, which is then that the hairdressers will open, which is good, because I really want to get my hair cut. I haven't been to the hairdressers now or barbers I should say, really, since January. So it's been 3.5 months. So it's about time I get my hair cut. I know it's getting a bit long at the background here. And now shops in retail centres will be able to open, but they'll still have the regulations how many people can go in them, and certain food sales points will open as well, and also be able to have sports meetings with up to 50 people. So for example, if Newcastle were playing, then 50 people turn up was probably a good day for them anyway. So not Newcastle in the UK anyway, but I mean, and what do you call it, these what's that in English, the infants, not the infant school, what do you call it, kindergarten, where the kids go, the creche, that's it. I always thought a creche was the result of bad driving in Kensington, but the creches will be open, but there'll be a maximum of 3 children in a room. And then the fourth stage will be opening of things like solarium and what do you call it? Siłownia. What's that in English? Gymnasiums, but still maintaining restrictions on the amount of people in shops. And of course, this all depends on how things go. And you know, as a historian, I must remind everyone once more that when we had when there was the Spanish flu epidemic of 1918, it came in 3 waves, and the second wave was the most deadly. Having said that, since then lots of things have been learned, and whereas you know, thinking we're going to find an injection, inoculation, a vaccine for this is unlikely. I mean, I would have thought, as things stand at present, I mean, one was never found for the first SARS outbreak, what was it, 18 years ago. So maybe that won't happen that quickly. I mean, the thing is, of course, the economy just can't stand still, because at the end of the day, we're not going to have any ways of paying for our food if this goes on forever. So it's good though that they are releasing these restrictions. I'd have to say that in Poland, it is it's the most restrictive country in Europe. It was apparently, so I read, Sweden at one end with the least restrictive, and Poland with the most restrictive. I mean, things that you know, I have to wear the mask even now I have to wear the mask when I go outside. I was talking to a friend in Germany yesterday, and he's telling me that they're going out for bicycle rides. Well, I mean, there are people on the bicycle around here, but I mean, I'm convinced that nobody's doing it in the large cities. And he said that in Hamburg, for example, people were going out, but one difference is in Germany being such a federal country, and the border of Schleswig-Holstein is not that far from Hamburg, and so people were going up to the border of the other province, and they were being sent back. The police wouldn't let them into Schleswig-Holstein. Schleswig-Holstein had put its border controls in place. I mean, Poland is a far more centralised country, so that didn't happen here. Actually, on that subject, I'm surprised that hasn't happened in the United States. One thing I noticed when I was in California was when you cross the border from Nevada, there is a phytosanitary control point, and everybody had to stop. Anyway, right, so thanks very much for listening. If you're listening to this live, there's going to be a video of a motorhome in a couple of minutes, so please click on the link to go there. And if you're not watching this live, then thanks very much, and I shall continue to report on this until I run out of ideas. Thank you.